History has a strange way of repeating itself. Empires rise, nations fall, and countries that once seemed indestructible can collapse overnight. What if I told you that right now in 2025, there are countries teetering on the edge, their futures hanging by a thread? From economic meltdowns to political chaos, the world is shifting faster than ever. In today's video, we're taking a hard look at 10 nations that might not make it through the next year intact. Stick around to see how the fate of these countries could change the world as we know it. Number 1. Lebanon. From Paris of the Middle East to economic ruin. Once hailed as the Paris of the Middle East, Lebanon in 2025 is a shadow of its former self. The nation is in the grip of one of the worst economic crises in modern history. 80% of the population now lives below the poverty line, and Lebanon's currency is practically worthless. Banks are often closed, and when they're open, citizens face strict withdrawal limits, making it nearly impossible to access their savings. Protests flood the streets, with people demanding solutions that never seem to come. Groceries are 10 times more expensive than they were last year, and the government is barely functioning. Lebanon's future is in serious jeopardy. Will it find a way to rebuild, or are we witnessing the collapse of this once vibrant nation? Number 2. Afghanistan. Post-withdrawal chaos and uncertainty. Next on our list is Afghanistan, a country that remains synonymous with instability. While the US may have withdrawn its troops, Afghanistan's problems are far from over. The Taliban now controls the government, but the economy is in tatters, leaving the population in a state of despair. Imagine a country hit by back-to-back natural disasters, only there's no aid coming. Food shortages are rampant, infrastructure is crumbling, and the international community is caught in a diplomatic deadlock, unsure of how to intervene. 2025 could either see Afghanistan descend deeper into chaos or, against all odds, begin a slow path toward resilience. Either way, it's a country on the brink. Number 3. Haiti, a nation abandoned to gangs and turmoil. Over in the Caribbean, Haiti is facing an existential crisis. After decades of earthquakes, hurricanes, and political corruption, Haiti's government has all but collapsed. Large parts of the capital are now controlled by heavily armed gangs, making daily life a struggle for survival. Picture a tropical island where lawlessness reigns, and citizens are left fending for themselves in what feels like the Wild West. The international community has been slow to respond, and unless drastic measures are taken, 2025 could see Haiti become one of the first modern states to fall apart completely under the weight of its internal chaos. Number 4. Yemen, a humanitarian catastrophe. Yemen is another nation on the verge of collapse, but this one has been simmering for almost a decade. The civil war has ravaged the country, leaving millions starving and its infrastructure in ruins. The humanitarian crisis in Yemen is one of the worst in the world, yet no one seems to have a clear solution. Peace talks stall, aid is hard to distribute, and the fighting continues. Imagine watching your house burn while the firefighters argue over which hose to use. That's the reality in Yemen. Unless a miracle happens, Yemen's future in 2025 looks grim, with total collapse becoming a real possibility. Number 5. Sri Lanka, paradise lost to economic freefall. Sri Lanka is a country known for its beautiful beaches and world-famous tea, but behind the postcard-perfect scenes, the country is in economic freefall. After years of political mismanagement, Sri Lanka's currency has plummeted, and its people are dealing with gas shortages, runaway inflation, and a government that's barely hanging on. Imagine waiting in line for hours just to get fuel, only to be told the station has run dry. That's the reality for many Sri Lankans in 2025. Can the government find a way to turn things around, or will this island nation sink deeper into chaos as the months go by? Number 6. Zimbabwe, a history of hyperinflation and instability. In Africa, Zimbabwe is no stranger to economic hardship. Hyperinflation, political instability, and government mismanagement have plagued the country for years. The situation has become so dire that people are once again carrying millions of Zimbabwean dollars just to buy basic goods like bread. The government has made efforts to stabilize the economy, but 2025 could be the breaking point. Will Zimbabwe find a way out of its economic death spiral, or will it become another failed state struggling to provide for its citizens? Number 7. Myanmar, a nation at war with itself. Myanmar is a country at war with itself. The 2021 military coup plunged the nation into chaos, and the situation has only worsened. Civil unrest, ongoing conflicts between ethnic groups, and brutal crackdowns by the military have left Myanmar on the verge of a total breakdown. In 2025, the people of Myanmar are still fighting for freedom, but the government remains unrelenting. With no clear resolution in sight, Myanmar could either face brutal suppression or see a full-blown revolution. Either way, the country's future hangs in the balance. Number 8. Venezuela, the land of oil and economic collapse. Once one of the wealthiest nations in Latin America, Venezuela is now synonymous with economic collapse. Despite sitting on one of the world's largest oil reserves, the government's mismanagement has left the country barely able to keep the lights on. In 2025, Venezuela's situation is only getting worse. With inflation spiraling out of control and food shortages becoming the norm, the government is struggling to hold on to power. Will Venezuela find a way to leverage its natural resources, or is it headed for even deeper crisis? Number 9. Ethiopia and Sudan, the struggles of war and ethnic conflict. Two more African nations make our list, Ethiopia and Sudan. Both countries are caught in the grips of internal conflict, with Ethiopia facing the fallout of the Tigray War and Sudan struggling with long-standing ethnic tensions. In Ethiopia, regional factions are fighting for control, and the government is struggling to maintain peace. The situation is dire, and 2025 might be the year Ethiopia spirals into full-blown civil war. Similarly, Sudan, still reeling from the north-south split and continued violence, faces an uncertain future. Both nations are teetering on the edge. Will peace prevail, or will they join the ranks of collapsed states? The global shift of 2025. What's next? So there you have it. 10 countries on the brink of collapse in 2025. From the Middle East to Africa, Latin America to Southeast Asia, the world is facing a series of unprecedented challenges. Will these nations find a way to stabilize, or are we witnessing the next wave of fallen states in the making? What do you think? Will any of these countries pull off a miracle, or is their fate already sealed? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into global geopolitics and the stories that shape our world. Stay curious, stay informed, and keep exploring, because the world is changing faster than ever.